Ember, the nature-friendly dragon. Once upon a time, near wide forests and clear streams, there was a small village. The people of this village lived in peace, gathering fruits and vegetables from their fields, and benefiting from the wealth of the forest. But the village had a secret. An ancient and legendary creature lived there to protect them from dangers. This creature was small but brave. Its name was Ember. Ember came from a long line of powerful dragons. His family had protected villages, cities, and nature for generations. But Ember was a little different. Unlike other dragons, he wasn't big and strong. He was small and kind. His greatest passion was living in harmony with nature. He would spend hours wandering through the forest, listening to the birds chirp, and resting in the shade of the trees. The rustling of leaves and the trickling of streams were his favorite melodies. But Ember had a problem. No matter how hard he tried to protect the village, every time he used his fire, he unintentionally harmed nature. His flames would burn the trees and wither the flowers. This made Ember deeply sad. One day a child from the village approached him. She was a little girl with blonde hair. The sadness on her face tugged at Ember's heart. "Ember," the girl said, "we love you, and we're grateful you protect our village. But the forest is burning, the trees are turning to ash, and the flowers are dying. Nature is being harmed. What can we do?" Ember's heart sank. In that moment, he realized once again how fragile nature was. "I never meant for this to happen," he said with a sorrowful voice. "I need to learn how to protect nature." That night, Ember lay awake, thinking deeply. In the silence of the night, he could only hear the soft whisper of the wind and the distant hoots of owls. "If I can't protect nature, am I truly protecting the village?" he asked himself. He knew he had to do something. The next morning, as soon as the sun rose, Ember set off on a journey into the depths of the forest. The forest had always brought him peace, but this time, it felt different. The green of the forest wasn't as vibrant as before. Some trees were burnt, and the flowers had wilted. Ember knew this was his fault. But this time, he wanted to change. He wanted to be not just a dragon, but also a friend of nature. In the deepest part of the forest lived a wise elder, known to all, the wise tree. Ember was eager to seek his help. When he reached the depths of the forest, Ember finally found the wise tree. The wise tree had stood there for centuries. Its roots stretched deep into the earth, and its branches reached up to the sky. Each leaf gently swayed in the breeze, creating a melody of its own. The wise tree saw Ember approaching and spoke in a calm voice. "Welcome, little dragon. I knew you would come." Ember bowed his head in respect. "Wise tree, I need your help. I want to protect the village, but in doing so, I'm harming nature. My fire burns everything, and the flowers wither. I don't know what to do." The wise tree sighed deeply and gently lowered its branches to the ground. "Nature is built on balance, Ember," he said. "Fire is powerful on its own, but without the other elements, it is unbalanced. If you learn to work with water, wind, and earth, you can protect nature without harming it. Everything has its time and place." Ember listened carefully to the wise tree's words. "But how can I gain the help of the other elements?" he asked. The wise tree smiled and said, "The other creatures of the forest will guide you. You must learn to understand and respect nature. This is not just the strength of a dragon, but the wisdom of nature." Ember kept the wise tree's words in mind and began seeking advice from the other creatures of the forest. First, he saw a deer drinking peacefully by the river. Ember approached and asked, Is water stronger than fire? The deer lifted his head and smiled gently. Water is the source of life, he said. Fire dries things out, but water brings them back to life. Even lava cannot stand against water. Water renews nature. Ember noted this advice and continued on his way. He looked up at the sky and saw a bird soaring gracefully, carried by the wind. Ember called out to the bird, "Can the wind really drive away danger?" The bird let out a light laugh. "The wind can blow away smoke and direct flames, but you must understand the power of the wind and use it wisely. The wind can be your friend, but if you act too hastily, it can upset everything." Ember stored the bird's words in his mind. Everything had its balance: fire, water, wind. They needed to work together. Sometime later, Ember returned to the village. But when he arrived, the village was in a state of panic. Villagers were running, and animals were fleeing. Ember looked to the sky to understand what was happening. The volcano near the village had suddenly become active. Smoke rose from the mountain's peak, and lava began to flow toward the village. Ember sprang into action. He felt a mixture of fear, but also knew this was his chance to use the knowledge he had gained. This wasn't just about protecting the village, it was a test of living in harmony with nature. This time, Ember remembered the lesson from the deer by the river. He controlled the river's water to form a barrier in front of the lava. The water cooled the lava, extinguishing the flames. However, the pressure inside the volcano was still dangerous. With one final effort, Ember carefully used his fire to release the pressure in a controlled manner. This stopped the volcano completely. Ember flew to the volcano. Flames and smoke were spreading everywhere. First, remembering what the bird had taught him, he called on the wind. Just as the birds had shown him, he used the power of the wind to blow the smoke and ash away from the village. But the lava kept coming closer. The villagers gathered around Ember with joy. "Ember, you didn't just save our village, you saved nature too," they said. Ember smiled warmly. He knew now that he could protect both the village and nature. In balance with nature, he had defended the village. The villagers wanted to thank Ember, so they gathered together to plant trees and bring the forest back to life. Day by day, nature began to flourish again, and the village grew even greener. Every night, Ember gazed up at the stars, falling asleep peacefully. He had learned how to protect both the village and nature, and his heart was at peace. And so, the adventures of Ember, the nature-friendly dragon, came to a happy end. But everyone knew that Ember would always remain the faithful protector of the forest and the village. Dear children, it's now your bedtime. Just like Ember, tonight you too will drift off into sweet dreams under the stars. A peaceful sleep awaits you. Remember, every new day brings new adventures, just like Ember's journey. Now, close your eyes and let your imagination take you on a magical journey through the wonders of nature. Tomorrow morning, a fresh new day filled with the beauty of nature will be waiting for you. Sweet dreams, little friends. Good night. Please like and subscribe for more bedtime tales.